Hello everyone, welcome to the part 2 of this series. In previous video, I told you about all the rules of the game, history of the game, how the games are played, what are the result of the game, how exactly a game is drawn, how exactly a game is won, and things like that. If you are just beginning the chess and you do not know the rules of the game, then I would recommend you to check out the first video first, and then after continue with this one. So in this video, I'm going to tell you how we arrange pieces on the board. Since if you are playing online, obviously the board will be come arranged to you and will be ready for game. But if you are playing in your home, then obviously you will have a simple empty board and bunch of pieces that you will have to arrange over the board. So you must know that how exactly we arrange the board. So let's start with that, and later on I will show you a sample game which I created this morning. The sole purpose of that particular game will be showing you that how exactly pieces are moved in a game, so that you get more familiar with this process of moving the pieces. You will get more familiar with the rules of the game and things like that. So without further ado, let's start the video. Okay. All right. So I have a board which is already set up, but I need to remove all the pieces and tell you about how exactly we set up the pieces. Okay. So now we have an empty board. Now, in order to set up the pieces, first of all, we pick the white side, which side we will play from. But the first question is that which side will be of white? As of now, we can see that since the board is coming from upside down, then obviously the side which is towards the white player will be on the white side, and towards the opponent will be the black side, right? So we know naturally that this side will be white, but obviously in empty board you will not be able to figure it out. So first clue is that white starts on from the side which begins with 1. Okay, so 1 and 2 belongs to pieces of white. In the same way, 7 and 8 belongs to pieces of black. But there can be a board which does not have these numbers. Okay, so I'll tell you without considering that there is any annotation over the board. Okay, so first of all, we pick the king. We put the king on the center. Okay, but there are two central squares, E and D. Okay, I'm just telling you E and D since it is written over here without considering that. But I'm considering that on the board where you will be setting it up, there won't be any letter or number. So always remember that white king reside on the black square or dark square. So in this case, dark square is this one. So we put the king here. Then comes the queen. The queen always stays on the left side of the king. So here. Then comes bishops, which stays. There will be two bishops in each game. So one bishop will stay on the left of the queen, and one bishop will stay on the right of the king. Okay, so this is the place of the bishop. Then comes knight. So knight comes just after the bishops, and the last square is filled with rook, and all these squares are filled with pawns. So I filled all of these. Sorry. Okay. The black follows the same structure. So I put pawn in front of pawns. King in front of king. So you can see that the black king stays on the light square, the white square. Okay. There comes the bishop. There goes the bishop. Here's a queen. Here's a rook. Here's knight. Sorry. And the board is, ready. We are ready to play. I select the white to play, and I can load the game. Okay, so this is how we start the game. So let me show you a little game, a sample game, which will basically make you familiar with the game. That how exactly we play the game. It will make you familiar with the rules of the move. Okay, so just hang on. All right, I'll start the game with the pawns. With the pawn that is just in front of the king, I just move it 2 steps forward, and my opponent responded in the same way by moving his pawn to 2 steps forward. By rule, you know that when the pawn is on the first rank, where not first rank, the original position of its own, then it can move either one step ahead or two steps ahead. So in this case, we both moved our pawn two steps ahead. Okay. Then after, I put my knight on this square. Okay. This knight can go to this square, and this square. Alright. So I put my knight on this square. In the same way, my opponent also put his knight on this square. Now, in this case, this knight can go to here and here. It cannot go here because it's already occupied by the pawn of its own color. If this would have been a pawn of, let's say, white, then this knight could have, capture this pawn. Okay, so knight comes to here. Now I play my bishop to this square. Okay, since bishop moves diagonally, I put it over here. I could have put it over here, here, and here. Okay, so I put my bishop on this square. My opponent played his knight to this square. In this case, this knight can go to this square, or this square. Okay, now I put my knight on this square. I could have captured it. I could play over here, and I could play over here as well. Okay, so I put my knight on this square. As a response, my opponent plays his pawn, which was in front of the queen, two steps forward. Now, as we know that the pawn captures the pieces diagonally, so I was able to capture this piece. So I captured it. Now my opponent could have captured this pawn with his knight, because if you see all the moves landing squares for the knight, then this knight can go here, and here. He could have captured it, but he chose not to capture it. I would ask you why exactly? Because if I capture it, I will be able to capture with my bishop as well. Obviously, then after, queen will be able to capture it, because queen can move diagonally as well as horizontally or straightforward. Okay, but instead of doing all this, my opponent chooses to play his knight on this square. As you can see, this knight can go here, and here. Okay, so he chose to play on this square. The reason is that now this knight is actually attacking this bishop. Okay, so I need to defend this bishop. Okay, I need to either move this bishop from somewhere else, or I should play another piece, so that if knight captures that bishop, I should be able to capture that knight, so that the trade will be equal. My opponent loses a knight, I loses a bishop. Alright, so in this case, I decided to play bishop to this square. Now, what does it do? It actually attacks the king. In chess, we call it a check. Okay, where check is a very forcing move. The only legal move in this position is that all the moves which basically defends this attack, either blocks this attack or completely closes this attack by either capturing this bishop, or we can block it by pushing this pawn one step forward, or by playing this bishop on this square, or playing this knight to this square, or playing this knight to this square, or playing queen to this. Okay, in all the cases, we just need to block this path. Since the bishop cannot be captured, the only option that we have is to either move the king or block this path. Got it? Okay, so my opponent decided to block it with his bishop. Okay, now in this case, now this bishop is not just only blocking this check, but also threatening to capture this bishop. But it is my turn, and I can also capture this bishop because this is also on the diagonal square. So I captured it. My opponent captured back with his queen. We call in chess we call it a trade of equal material. We gave up the bishop, and we captured the bishop, and my opponent captured my bishop. Okay, and now in this case, in this position, after this move, after queen captures the bishop, I simply castled. I told you about the castle. In the castle can happen only when the king and the rook with which I am castling has not moved. So in this game, so far I had not touched my rook which was there and my king which was here. Okay, and since king moves 2 squares at a time, this square and this square should not be attacked by my opponent. And in this case, no pieces of my opponent is actually attacking this 2 square, which is why I was able to castle. Okay. Now my opponent captured this pawn. Since this pawn was not guarded, it was free to be captured, so he simply captured it. Okay. Now I played this move. I played my pawn, which was in front of the queen, 1 step forward. The reason for this is now my bishop is looking at the knight. So if by any means my opponent is attacking that knight, I'm not, I will be basically able to recapture. Okay. Now my opponent castled this side. I castled this side. My opponent castled this side. Again, the king is moving 2 squares towards this square. So we must need to see whether the king, first of all, whether the king is in check or not. So the king was not in check, and also this square and this square was not attacked by me. In this case, me, because the opponent is me. So my opponent was able to castle. So he simply castled. Okay. Now in this position, I played my queen to this square. Okay. Since this is on the diagonal, I was able to play it. Okay. My opponent played his pawn 2 steps forward. Okay. The pawn which was in front of the bishop, he played it 2 steps forward. Okay. Now I played this knight to this square. This knight could have gone to this square and this square and this square. So I played it on this square. Now this knight would be able to capture this knight because, again, helper. If he doesn't capture, I would be able to capture it. Okay. So my opponent captured it. Now, question to you. Can I capture this knight by any piece? Well, as you can see, this pawn can go here, here, and can also capture this knight because it's on the diagonal 1 square, away. So I captured this knight. Okay. Now he played h6. Sorry, and the pawn which was in front of the rook 1 step forward. The reason why he played it, because now this pawn is attacking this knight. So I need to save my knight. Okay. Obviously, if he capture, I can also capture back with my bishop. But we need to see that what we are losing and what we are gaining. I have not told you about the weightage of each piece. What is the value of pawn? What is the value of bishop, queen, and knight? I did not tell you. I'll tell you later, in the next video. Okay. So since he attacked, I saved my knight by going here. I cannot go to this, or this. The reason for this is if I go to this square is attacked by queen. Okay. I cannot go to this square because this is attacked by the pawn. I cannot go to this square because again this is attacked by queen. And this square is also attacked by rook. So the only square which is available to my knight is this one. So I played it over here. Now my opponent played this move. Again, the pawn moved 2 steps forward. So I moved my queen to this square. Okay. Now my opponent played this pawn 1 step further forward. Okay. This pawn cannot move 2 steps ahead. The reason for this is not the original position of the pawn. If the pawn, when the pawn was here, it was the original position of the pawn, and which is why he was able to move it 2 steps forward. So now this pawn is attacking my knight. I need to save my knight again. Okay. So I saved my knight by playing it back to this square. Okay. Now this pawn again can capture it. Remember that black had pushed his pawn 1 step forward in order to attack this knight, and I put it back over here so that if black wants, can capture it. Okay, but if he captures it, I will be able to capture his rook. Okay, since the queen moves straight forward, also diagonally. Got it? So I will be losing knight, but I will be gaining a rook. Okay. Earlier, in the last case, this was not the case. Okay. So my opponent actually captured it and gave up his rook. Okay. Now on this move, he played his bishop to this square. Now this bishop, which which moves diagonally, is now attacking my queen. And also remember, see that this rook is also attacking the queen. Okay, so my queen is attacked in two ways. So I need to save my queen. So I played my queen to this square. Now this square is available to me. No, but none of the pieces are attacking it. Okay. Now, since I moved it over here, now I am attacking this pawn. Okay. Also remember that this pawn is also attacked by this bishop. So I am attacking on this pawn with two pieces. So he tried to save his pawn by playing his bishop to this square, because now this bishop is guarding this pawn. But since I am attacking it with two pieces, I'm attacking it with two pieces and he is attacking with just one, I will be able to capture it. So I captured it. He captured it. He did not capture it, I guess. I captured it and okay, he captured it. I also captured it. Okay. Now he played his knight to this square. He could not have played to this or this. The reason, both of these squares are attacked by my pieces. So if he plays his knight to these squares, I will be able to capture it. Okay, now he played it over here. Now what did I do? I played my rook to this square. Why I'm playing all these moves, I will be telling you later in in later part of this series. But for now, just get familiar with the move. Okay, so rook comes to this square because this is on the horizontal path, straightforward path. Okay, now he played his knight on this square. If I go back, this knight can go to this square, here, 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 and here. If we choose this square, the knight will be safe. If we choose this square, the knight will be safe. If we choose this square, the knight will be safe. But in these two squares, knight will not be safe because these two squares are covered by my pawn. Okay, so he chose to put his knight on this square. And now I played my queen to this square. Now this queen is attacking two pawns. As you can see that I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7 pawns. My opponent has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6 pawn. Okay, I have 2 rooks. My opponent has 1 rook. Instead of another rook, he has a knight, and he has a queen just like me. Okay, let me just tell you that he will be losing a pawn shortly because he cannot save both. Okay, and also the rook worth more than knight, so he's already too much material down, which is why he simply resigned in this position and I won the game. I told you in the previous video that game can be won either by checkmating the opponent or if the opponent offers resignation. So in this case, he offered resignation and the game completed. Okay, I hope you understood the game and I hope you understood the rule of the game, how exactly the pieces are moved, and most importantly, I hope that you understand how exactly pieces are set on the board. I'll see you in the next lecture. Thank you. Okay, before we go, since you have already seen a sample game, I hope you are also eager to play the games which on your own basically. So I will be adding a link in the description to my chess portal where you will be able to play against a bot. Okay, which will be basically you will be playing against a computer. The board will be set up. You can play. You can choose to either play with white or black. So I hope you will try it, and I'll see you in the next video.